LSU offensive coordinator Charlie Weiss Jr. is staying in Baton Rouge. He's not leaving for the NFL. Plus, the Tigers come in at number 12 in the way too early composite top 25 rankings for the 2026 season. Let's get into that and so much more on this brand new edition of the Babin on the Bayou show. I'm your host, as always, Justin Babin Jr. It is indeed Tuesday, January 27th. 2026, officially episode 12 of the Babin on the Bayou show. Hope you had an amazing Monday. Hope you're having a great Tuesday as well. But let's get right into it. So, another aspect that we've talked a lot about LSU football, obviously, lately, with the massive transfer portal haul you got, the great things you did in early National Signing Day. But another part of it is the staff you brought in. You kept most of your defensive staff that was on your staff last year in 2025, you kept. But Lane Kiffin brought over pretty much all of his offensive staff from Ole Miss, except for Eric Walford, who's the new LSU offensive line coach. He came over from the University of Kentucky. But Charlie Weiss Jr. is the new LSU offensive coordinator, and he's been an assistant. He's been a coordinator for many, many years under Lane Kiffin. But Weiss is a young guy. He's 32 years old, and he's been in high demand lately. He's been talking to multiple NFL organizations who asked him about their vacant opening offensive coordinator positions. Mainly, it's been the New York Giants and the Philadelphia Eagles. And the Athletics' Diana Rossini reported recently that the latest one was the Eagles. So Charlie Weiss did speak with Philadelphia, but then he informed them that he was 100% committed to LSU and that he intends to stay as a part of Lane Kiffin's first staff with the Tigers in the fall of 2026. So, again, this is another big part of Lane Kiffin coming here. Lane Kiffin being at LSU is he took most, if not all, pretty much of his offensive staff that was with him at Ole Miss over to LSU. And it's a proven staff that has led Ole Miss to become, be the past couple seasons one of the best offenses in the SEC, the best offense in the SEC in terms of total yardage in both 2024 and 2025. Weiss has been with Kiffin for many years. I believe his first time that he spent on a staff with Kiffin was in 2015. When Weiss was a young offensive assistant for Nick Saban's Alabama football team, while Lane Kiffin was the quarterback's coach and the offensive coordinator for the Crimson Tide. Weiss has been with Ole Miss and Kiffin since 2022, and they formed really one of the top offenses, one of the top offensive schemes in all of college football. And then, we talked about it. Ole Miss led the SEC in total yardage, total offensive yardage in both 2024 and 2025. And then after Kiffin left Ole Miss for LSU, Weiss was going to come on to be the LSU offensive coordinator, which he will be in 2026. But Charlie Weiss did continue to be the offensive coordinator for the Rebels during their playoff run, where without Lane Kiffin, with Charlie Weiss just calling the plays, Ole Miss racked up 39 points against Kirby Smart and the Georgia Bulldogs in the Sugar Bowl. And then the week after that, they put up an impressive 27 points in a loss, but 27 points against a really stout Miami defense. I mean, that Miami defense was legit. Putting up 27 points against them is nothing to be shy about. Look, Charlie Weiss is a very bright young mind. Again, he's only 32 years old, which is really, really young for an offensive coordinator position. But what he and Lane Kiffin have been able to do with guys like Jackson Dart, with Trinidad Chambliss in 2025, they've had success. This Ole Miss offensive staff that is now coming over to LSU is a proven staff. They're proven winners, and they produced at an extremely high level the past few seasons with the Rebels. And look, I'm excited for it because you have the defensive staff that you kept guys like Blake Baker, Corey Raymond, Jake Olson, Kevin Peoples, all those guys. they proved that they could put out a really, really good defense in 2025. So I have complete faith in Blake Baker and the defense. And again, this Ole Miss offensive staff coming to LSU did a bunch of great things at Ole Miss, and I expect them to bring that over now to the Tigers and to Baton Rouge. So another big part of this is the staff. The guys you brought over from Ole Miss, they're proven. This Ole Miss offensive staff did great things for the Rebels. You kept most of your defensive staff. That was a part of a really solid defensive unit in 2025. And if you did had to fill positions like you had to hire a new O-line coach, you brought in Eric Wolford, who has many, many years of experience in the SEC, was at one point an offensive line coach under Nick Saban, coached in the NFL too a little bit as well. You brought in Sterling Lucas as your new defensive line coach from South Carolina, who did great things with studs like Dylan Stewart and Kyle Kennard. And you look at South Carolina's defensive line over the past number of years, they've been some of the top defensive lines in the SEC year over year. You bring that guy over to LSU. So the guys you brought in that weren't from Ole Miss and weren't from LSU, the guys you brought in have plenty of proven success and experience at the SEC, and even at the NFL level. All right, so the other news that came out yesterday is that apparently in a way too early composite top 25 poll for 2026, LSU came in at number 12, excuse me. So when we talk about a composite poll, a lot of different organizations from ESPN, Fox Sports, CBS Sports, On3, the Crane and Cone podcast, like all of these different organizations put their top 25 way too early top 25 polls out in the last week or so. And then it was compiled into a composite and averaged out. And this is basically taking all of these polls, combining them together to what is the actual consensus poll, right? LSU came in at number 12. And I think the number 12 ranking for LSU is very fair. I mean, I said it, I do sincerely believe you're going to have a top 10 roster in the nation going into 2026. But, you're coming off of a season, a 7-6 season. It's Lane Kiffin's first year in Baton Rouge. It's one of the worst offenses we ever saw from any LSU football team in the 2025 season. The LSU offense in 2025 was absolutely horrendous. And you kind of feel right now, you're like, okay, number 12, it's a 12-team playoff, so that's putting you right in the playoff hunt. And I said this yesterday, with the roster you have, with the number one transfer portal class in the country, with all the guys you have returning, like a Harlan Berry, Trey Green, Caden Durham, DJ Pickett, PJ Woodland, Deshaun Spears, DeMarcus Cooley, Whit Weeks, all of those guys. With the roster you have, you are a playoff contender, right? With the roster you have. In year one under Lane Kiffin, this team can make the playoffs, and that's what the national media is telling you at this point, because number 12, that's right in the mix. That's right on the edge, right in the mix of making the playoffs. So look, I think I wanted to point that out because it does. LSU's going to have a bunch of high expectations going into 2026. Whether that's realistic or not, whether it's, it's Lane's first season, I get it. But with the roster they have, with the portal class that they brought in, high expectations for LSU in 2026, and hopefully they can deliver on it. That's what the hope is, right? Moving on, I did want to quickly touch on something over the weekend that I didn't talk about yesterday, but I did want to talk about because I feel like it's important, it's relevant to LSU, and it is the Ole Miss / Dabo Swinney situation, okay? Look, Ole Miss repeatedly over the last month has been accusing LSU of tampering with their roster, of really, I think the Ole Miss athletic director said, Lane was wrecking their program, right? Tampering and all of that. But then on Friday, I believe, Dabo Swinney, in his time with the media at Clemson, goes on an 8-minute rant laying out how Ole Miss blatantly tampered with linebacker Luke Farrelly from California. So Luke Farrelly, linebacker from California, transfers over to Clemson. He enrolls in classes at Clemson. He accepts a financial aid package from Clemson. And then Ole Miss doesn't stop pursuing him. So they still pursue Farrelly. They're still going after him, right? Reportedly, according to Dabo, Pete Golding is texting Farrelly in the middle of class saying things like, hey, I know you're signed. What's the buyout? That's blatant tampering if true, right? So why do I bring this up? Look, all of the accusations, all of the ugly drama going on between Ole Miss and LSU, we've covered it, we've talked about it, and look, I gotta admit, if I was an Ole Miss fan, I would be pretty ticked off too about Lane Kiffin leaving Ole Miss. So I kind of understand it in a way. But when you look at it, it is like, I feel like I'm tired of Ole Miss pretending to be innocent in all this. Because Lane Kiffin was your coach for years and years and years, and y'all brought in amazing portal classes, and he did the same thing he's doing at LSU now, and you had no problem with it. You have a problem with it now because he's doing it at LSU. LSU signed over 40 portal prospects. Do you know how many of those guys came from Ole Miss? 4 of them. Only 4 of them. So it's not like LSU's entire transfer portal class is from Ole Miss or anything, or it was just an complete exodus from the Ole Miss roster. It's not. And I'm not going to sit up here and be naive and say LSU or Lane Kiffin doesn't do tampering. Guys, everybody does tampering. The NCAA is a joke. The leaders at the NCAA are a joke. Nobody is willing to rectify this situation, to fix this situation, which, yes, I'm in favor of, even if it comes at the detriment of LSU. College football needs to be fixed. But right now, there's, frankly, the NCAA and its leaders are too cowardly to fix it, right? So, I mean, he's not breaking the rules because there are no rules. There's no legislation. There's no law. There's no thing from the NCAA with what Lane Kiffin is doing. And then Ole Miss and Ole Miss fans and Ole Miss media is going on rants about everything wrong that Lane Kiffin's been doing. And then they do the same exact thing with Luke Farrelly and Clemson and Dabo Swinney. Look, who knows what's going to happen? Dabo presenting it to the NCAA. Will Ole Miss get punished? Whatever. I'm not going to pretend LSU doesn't tamper because I don't think that's true. Everybody tampers. Everybody in the Power Four tampers to some level if you want to succeed. Okay? You can blame Lane Kiffin for that. I blame the NCAA. I think the NCAA is a joke. I think college football has some of the worst leaders of any sport in America because nobody is willing to regulate it. I've openly said to friends and to people I talk to, I think it'd be good if college football got a commissioner. I don't care who it is. Somebody needs to come in and fix this because college football, I mean, we talked about the schedule being broken the other day. We can talk about the portal. We can talk about all of it. College football, I love college football, but the NCAA is a joke of an organization. Let's be honest about that, okay? So, yes, I'm tired of Ole Miss acting innocent, their fans and their media acting innocent, when they do the same thing that Lane Kiffin and everybody else does, and that's clear. And if there aren't any rules against it, I mean, it is what it is, right? But bottom line, it's nobody is innocent in this situation. Ole Miss is not innocent. Lane Kiffin's not innocent. LSU's not innocent, okay? So, as far as Ole Miss accusing LSU, like they've done over the past month or two since Lane Kiffin's been here, of tampering, of interfering with their roster, of all of that, well, I mean, Carius Kern left LSU and he's going over to Ole Miss. Who's Ole Miss's running backs coach now? It's Frank Wilson. So this whole thing is Ole Miss still really salty, frankly, about Lane Kiffin leaving. And I'm not saying I wouldn't be if I was an Ole Miss fan. I probably would be. But let's not act innocent. I'm not going to act like LSU's completely innocent. I'm not going to act like Ole Miss is completely innocent. But let's be honest about whose fault this is. This is the NCAA's fault. Okay? But I thought it was kind of crazy that Dabo Swinney spent 8 minutes of his time with the media on Friday laying out his whole case against Ole Miss for interfering with Luke Farrelly, okay? I thought that was interesting. And the bottom line here is I'm just ready for football. I'm ready for all the drama to be over. I'm ready for it to play out on the field. September 19th, LSU at Ole Miss in Oxford is going to be one of the craziest, rowdiest atmospheres we've ever seen. But right now, I'm tired of all the drama and of, oh, Ole Miss is innocent. Oh, LSU is innocent. No, guys, everybody tampers. Everybody does it because the NCAA is a joke right now, and nobody's willing to fix it. So until the NCAA is willing to fix it, this is going to keep happening. So that's my thoughts on the whole Ole Miss Dabo Swinney situation and how it can relate to LSU as well. Let me tell you now about our wonderful daily sponsors of the Babin on the Bayou show over at Shield Heating and Cooling. And I've talked about it before, but when you talk about the team at Shield Heating and Cooling, you're talking about a team of experts with multiple decades and decades of experience as experts in the AC industry. And I love my audience. I love you guys for tuning into the show. I want to reward you for that. So if you call the phenomenal team over at Shield Heating and Cooling today at the number 225-46-BAYOU. 225-46-BAYOU. That's BAYOU. You call the team at Shield Heating and Cooling today at that number. Tell them you heard about them from this show, from the Babin on the Bayou show, and I'm giving away free AC system cleaning checks for every AC system in your home, whether you have one AC system or AC unit in your home, or whether you have 4 or 5 AC systems in your home. It doesn't matter. Call the great, trustworthy, reliable, the best in the business, the team at Shield Heating and Cooling today at 225-46-BAYOU, BAYOU. Call them at that number today. Tell them you heard about them from the Babin on the Bayou show, and I'm giving away free AC system cleaning checks for every AC system in your home. It's saving you money, and it's me trying to do something for you to really show my gratitude to you, because again, I really appreciate all of you for tuning into the show. I really, really do. So I hope you take a part in this giveaway to show my gratitude towards you for tuning into the show. Again, that Shield Heating and Cooling, you can trust them, trustworthy, reliable experts in the AC industry with decades and decades of experience. They're great. We love them, and we greatly appreciate them for being the title sponsors of this show. That Shield Heating and Cooling, your local comfort defenders. All right, 2 more things I wanted to touch on. So yesterday I started with kind of my first opening takeaway of starting to talk about LSU baseball, right? And talking about Jay Johnson and his media day, him meeting with the media last Friday. Talked about the outfield returning with Curiel, Stanfield, Brown, all of those guys returning. Jay Johnson said Friday, I can't believe I forgot to mention this, but he said Friday that all 3 of those guys are the best players the best they've been in their years at LSU. Which, if that's true, look out, America, for the best, what I think might just be the best outfield in America in 2026. And we'll keep going through these takeaways. Each day we'll go through some different aspects of the roster each day. But another takeaway that I had from Jay Johnson is when he was talking about LSU sophomore catcher Cade Arrambide. So in 2025, the starting catcher for LSU last year was mostly Luis Hernandez. I believe Luis Hernandez started 49 games at LSU, and he played well. He defended well and played really good at the catcher position while batting .270 and hitting 9 home runs, including 2 home runs in 1 game for LSU in the regional championship against the University of Little Rock. Who can forget that game? But Luis Hernandez was the main guy. But Cade Arrambide, as a freshman last year, did get a little bit of action. He did start 19 games last year, and he had 75 plate appearances as a freshman, including 4 home runs in Alex Box Stadium and the like. And so Arrambide had a good freshman year. He sat behind Luis Hernandez, but he had some opportunities. But I really like what I've been hearing from Jay Johnson as far as what Arrambide has done in the fall, because Cade He has a big arm. He has a ton of tools. He's got good size at 6'3" at the catcher position, and he has a bunch of talent to be one of LSU's best players in 2026. And he really stepped into all of that talent in the fall. So according to Jay Johnson, Jay said that Cade Arrambide was LSU's best player in the fall in terms of being the quality at bat champion, in terms of his improvement, in terms of how he played defense, all of that. Cade Arrambide was the number one player for LSU in the fall, even better than Curiel, Stanfield, Brown, and all of that. And that really did excite me because you can see the tools that Cade Arrambide has, and the fact that he had a phenomenal fall ball apparently over the summer. He worked a little bit in the Cape Cod League, and when he came back to LSU in the fall for fall practice and fall ball, he really excelled and was, according to Jay Johnson, LSU's best player in the fall. And I like that because I think you do have some real depth at the catcher position this year. Because you have Cade Arrambide, who I expect to step into his own and step into. I mean, Jay Johnson said it the other day. He believes Cade has all the talent in the world to be one of the best players, one of the leaders on this LSU roster. But behind Cade Arrambide, you brought in over the offseason freshman catcher Omar Cerna Jr., who has really light tower power, really powerful guys, Omar Cerna Jr. And Omar Cerna, just like Cade Arrambide, so both of LSU's top two catchers, and Arrambide and Cerna, are both former Texas high school players of the year. Both Arrambide and Cerna earned that award in high school as the Texas High School Players of the Year. They both have good size. Arrambide is 6'3", Cerna is 6'2". They both have plenty of tools. I think Cerna is going to. Arrambide is going to be the guy. Cerna will get chances, just like Arrambide got chances behind Luis Hernandez in 2025. But I think with those two guys at catcher position, and with how Cade Arrambide really excelled and really performed great in the fall, I really do love the depth you have at catcher with both guys. I mean, Cade Arrambide, when LSU got him, Jay Johnson said, we probably got the number one catcher in terms of talent that didn't go to an MLB team in the 2024 MLB draft, and they got him. And then Omar Cerna was also another guy that was one of the top catchers in the country in the past 2025 recruiting class. So I do really like the depth you have at the catcher position. You of course have a returning Eddie Yamin, I believe, behind them. But between Arrambide and Cerna, especially at the plate and with their power and with their hitting skills, you have a lot of talent at the plate. And as long as that transfers over defensively to the catcher position, which we've seen guys be great hitters and then struggle to play catcher because it's a hard position to play. Of course, probably the hardest position, or one of the hardest positions to play on the baseball field. But my point is, I like the depth you have, especially in Arrambide and Omar Cerna Jr. And I really like hearing that Arrambide was the best player in fall ball for LSU. Hopefully takes the next step to kind of join Curiel, Brown, Stephen Milam, Chris Stanfield, and then you could have Cade Arrambide step in as another leader of this team going into 2026. So that is another takeaway. I'll have one each day. It'll be about a different part of the roster, and that's how we're gonna break this down over these next 3 weeks leading up to opening day. Again, if you don't know me, I love LSU baseball. LSU baseball and LSU football are like, I eat, sleep, and breathe this stuff. And I'm so excited for opening day. LSU has been ranked in the top 2 of every preseason poll that has come out. So expected to make an Omaha run again this year, as always, with the best college baseball program in the country, best college baseball coach in the country, with Jay Johnson winning 2 national championships in his first 4 years in Baton Rouge. So really excited for this season to begin. All right, the last thing I wanted to get to was that Kim Mulkey and the LSU women's basketball team scored their 5th straight win in SEC play last night at home in the PMAC against Florida by winning by 29 points with a final score of 89-60. So Tigers moved to 19-2 overall in the season, and now they are 5-2 in SEC conference play, and they're currently ranked as the number 6 team in the country. So the Tigers have just been on a roll lately. And Jada Richard, I've talked about her before, really impressed once again last night. Was the highest scoring player for the Tigers last night. Jada Richard put up 20 points, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, and 1 steal. She also did a great job defensively. I really liked the defense played by Jada Richard last night against Liv McGill, the star point guard for Florida. Jada Richard did a really good job against Liv McGill. I really like the defense of all of these guards, of many of these players for LSU. Malaysia Fulwiley is a great defensive player. Michaela Williams can play some good defense. Flaugier and Jada Richard, they all have the ability to light it up on the scoreboard each night, but I really, really like the defense they play, and they're really good players on both sides of the court as the leaders of this team. But again, Jada Richard has been impressive lately. I mean, she put up 20 points last night, and she put up 12 points in the third quarter alone. That was really Jada Richard's big quarter, was putting up 12 in the third quarter alone last night. Another good performance came from LSU's Amaya Joyner. So Amaya Joyner also had an impressive night with a double-double that included 14 points and 10 rebounds. It was Joyner's second straight double-double, her 7th double-double of the season, and actually her 47th of her career as a senior coming over. She came over in the offseason as a transfer. And I also like the play lately of Amaya Joyner and Grace Knox in the post. They've been really good as well, especially Joyner with those double doubles, and I really like the offensive output from Grace Knox lately. So this LSU team has all the talent in the world to get to the Final Four, to win another national championship, especially with the play from their guards. And then I also like what I see from the post players and women like Amaya Joyner, Grace Knox, Kate Koval coming off the bench, stuff like that. Besides Joyner and Jada Richard, Michaela Williams finished with 12 points, and Malaysia Fulwiley finished with 15. That includes 11 points from Fulwiley in the fourth quarter alone. So really, Jada Richard took over the third quarter with 12 in the third last night, and then Malaysia Fulwiley took over the fourth with 11 in the fourth of her own last night. LSU out-rebounded Florida by 20. LSU had the 48-28 advantage on the boards as well. So Florida did a really good job in the first half of keeping the game close. I believe it was only a 3-point deficit for Florida after the first quarter, only a 7-point deficit for Florida going into the second half. But LSU was really able to pull away in the second half. In the third quarter, LSU finished with a 27-16 advantage in terms of points in the third quarter, and then a 26-15 advantage in the fourth quarter as well. So look, again, the Tigers, a top 6 team in the country, the number 6 team in the country, 5 straight wins, 19-2 on the season, 5-2 in SEC play, really getting into a groove and just keep winning every single night. I mean, they beat Texas A&M by 44, I believe, last Thursday, and then they beat Florida by 29 tonight. So really, the Tigers just keep on keeping on and rolling into the middle of SEC play. And again, with the guard play, I really like the defense from the guards as well, and each one of them between Richard, Flaugier, Fulwiley, and Michaela Williams, each one of them can light up the scoreboard every night, play really good defense. Amaya Joyner and Grace Knox have really been impressing me as well lately. So this LSU women's basketball team has all the talent in the world to get to the Final Four, to get to the national championship. Yeah, they just been on a roll lately, and they've been balling out, and yeah, they've been doing great. And Jada Richard has really impressed me lately. I feel like I say that in every one of these game recaps, but I knew Flaugier, Fulwiley, and Williams were going to be the 3 that obviously stood out to me. But then I really love the play of Jada Richard. I love her jump shot. She's got a really, really smooth jump shot as well. So really good for the Tigers. Their 5th straight win in SEC play, and they are just on a roll. The next game for the Tigers will be Thursday night in the PMAC once again against Arkansas. That game in the PMAC against Arkansas on Thursday night starts at 7 on the SEC Network Plus. But that is all that I have for the show today. Again, I thank you folks so much. I appreciate you guys so much for tuning into the show. Remember to like this video, share this video, tell your friend about the show, subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're not already subscribed. Really appreciate you guys for tuning in. I hope you have a great rest of your Tuesday evening, Tuesday afternoon, whatever time. I hope you're doing well, whatever time you're tuning into the show. And again, remember, God bless, go Tigers, and have a good one.